I love that for
Guys,
us.
we just filmed the first 15 minutes
I
of
wonder
this
how good the
podcast
camera
and we
audio
forgot
is.
to
And
turn.
we just no. Okay. Are we changing topic, or are we going to stick on it and go back?
That is hilarious. Well,
Yeah,
I
let's
guess
just carry on.
I guess we're living what we're speaking about.
This is very
Yeah.
true.
We are living what we are speaking
Should-
about.
should
right
we
So
do
guys, if you missed the last 15 minutes, which I'm sure you did,
now.
Should we do a quick
We're
summary?
gonna have that in the YouTube. We're just gonna speed it up and put it some text there. Beautiful.
Should we do a quick summary?
you know, the
Just
tech,
to
Yeah.
the tech guy, hey Pete, you forgot to click record, brother.
and I used up like all my good parts to this already.
Just summarize
Okay,
exactly.
summarize.
Yeah.
Survivorship bias. Planes were getting shot down. They looked at where the bullet holes were of the ones that survived. They assumed that's where they should be checking. They reinforced them. More planes went down. Realized that they were getting shot in the other areas, and they should have actually done fix the faults rather than try to fix the ones that made it back. Related it back to our own lives, how we look at successes and think that's what's going to get us places, but failure is actually the reason, and learning from that is going to benefit us. Cost of success is probably greater than the cost of failure because you don't learn your lessons. You should probably learn your lessons more while you're younger, or you can afford to take them, benefit you in the long run.
Yeah.
Summary.
Okay,
Mark.
so back to the story. So, it's like when you're younger, right? You look at like friends and families or people around you's families, and they're like well off, and they go on holidays and nice cars and all of this, and you're like, I wish I had that. You know what I mean? And then, like, especially for me, I went through it at like the right ages, where like I was young and I felt that feeling a lot.
You yearn for.
Yeah, like we never went on holiday. No, like not against my mom. We were up and down a lot, you know, and like we moved a lot. Like we didn't get the chance to do that stuff. Like we never went overseas.
Yeah. As well, I only went overseas once with my dad. The rest of it's always been by myself. It's never been family
and
oriented.
no, like I was so fortunate. I'm very, very fortunate. Where like the life I lived. Don't get me wrong, but I'm saying that you see the things around. There's always someone living better. Is what I mean. And like you see that happening, and you're like, I wish I
The Joneses.
had that kind of thing. You know what I mean? I wish I had that. And then when I got older and we got a little bit of money, I used to think to myself, fuck, those people that had it really hard have a reason to work really hard. And I was like, I wish I had hardship so I could like, and I actually like yearned, like I prayed for it.
The
Like I was
first thing you said to me when we were friends is, I will never ever question why I go through my hardships because they've
Yeah,
only
yeah.
ever benefited me the
Yeah.
most.
No, like, okay, so explaining this, I've actually like prayed. Like I remember we never had money, and then when we did, my dad's instinct, because he never had, was to like give. And that doesn't often raise a strong person. So I knew I wanted more. I really, really knew I wanted more. And I actually prayed. Like I sat in my bed and I was like, I need to experience rock bottom. And like I swear to God, in the next week or two, I hit rock bottom. Like I owed my roommate like $1,500 in Brisbane. Like I really hit rock bottom, and I had to like work my way up, and I felt what it was like to have that meaningful work. Like that was the time I went and got a job, and I went and like out of my way to like get these things
You're
done.
waitering in Australia.
Like,
and shit,
yeah. So like I had to like get that fire behind my ass, but like I chose to, and it's like that is kind of what you have to learn to appreciate is those hard times, because I would never have the drive or like the work ethic. Not that I have what Jason has, but like just the yearn to get things done if I never had that.
Yeah.
And like now, Jason knows I never ever see something as bad. Like I've never ever got down because, I mean, maybe for like 20 minutes because it threw me off my path or train of thinking, but never ever get me down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it never ever, it's never sits there. I will find excitement in 30 minutes trying to solve the problem is what I mean.
Yeah.
There's never down.
But that is a quality that you should have, because success brings complacency for most, I think. As soon as
Jace will be able to tell us why this is good. You know what I mean? He'll break our whole like train of thought down just now.
He's already
Like
looking
we
at us
tell
like,
these stories,
I love
and then he's
watching
like,
these two apes talk
Yeah,
with each
yeah.
other before I come in and just fucking
we're busy just chirping away, and he's like comes in and he's like,
yeah.
so
I'm actually just
But
getting
no,
all of this and
that-
I set it off.
it's- I think it's a quality that you have to actually cultivate in yourself, because as soon as you do taste a bit of success, complacency does start to set in. That's why they say for the artist, it's not hard making it, it's hard maintaining it. And it's because the moment you've made it, all that hard work that you were originally putting in is not, you think is not required, but give it a month and you will die off and people will stop talking about you. And So it's a quality that you have that also I think people should cultivate in themselves, you know, to not be complacent. When they hit rock bottom, they utilize it for the purpose that you utilized it, you know. Brought awareness to the fact that it added more benefit to their life than the good things that could have possibly happened to them. So yeah, I think it's a good point.
I think one thing that's very interesting about when you consider we're all relatively young, and we always think like, I want to wake up tomorrow and have made it. I want to be that story where people are like, oh, that guy made it at this age, and you're like, that's so amazing. His life is like this incredible thing because he made it so young, right?
Yeah.
But once you've got to that point of making it, your necessity to learn lessons is basically negated. Unless you're like a really headstrong type of guy that will go out and look for challenges, you'll find the shortcut to anything, because if something gets hard, money can fix anything.
Yeah.
You know, and people will say, oh, it can't. If you're struggling in business and like maybe you're not getting enough sales, you can pay someone to go promo your product. It might cost you more, you might make a loss, but money solved it. If your house is dirty and you haven't learned how to clean it, you'll pay a maid. You lose that lesson in life, right? And then you look at them and you think, well, you know, like Justin Bieber, for example. Oh, my word, like he has had this amazing life. But I guarantee once he hits sort of 50, you would ask him, would he ever have wanted to make it? Just not never made it, but make it a bit later in life. Have those normal experiences.
He literally says that.
Yeah.
He literally regrets everything. He does not enjoy it.
Yeah.
I mean, like he got mad depressed because you've taken away all of life's lessons. You can only ever learn those lessons.
Yeah,
that
like
he gets to
he
learn.
stopped where he was when he made it, basically.
I could learn those lessons if I worked hard enough. Like Joss can still learn his lessons that Justin Bieber learned, but he can never learn ours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's funny that we're actually speaking about lessons, because I often find that there's literally lessons in everything if you look for it. But a lot of the time we're so oblivious to it. But it's just small certain things can happen in your day, and it has an entire lesson all on its own from that little circumstance happening in your day. But if we're just not aware of it, we'll never ever learn that lesson. But think about it. There's times where you come home from going to the shop or whatever, and you're like, oh my hat, something happened today. And it just brought this insane sort of awareness and epiphany to you, you know, but it's because maybe you were just a little bit more aware of something that day. But there truly is lessons in everything if you look for them. I think we need to be reminded of that.
That's why, Jason will say journal, is because that's what brings it all out.
But I think so when you say, you know, you have these things going on in your day and these lessons, I think that people often, why I say you learn lessons in failure rather than success, it's not that you can't learn from success. It's that no one ever says, why did this happen to me if they've won? But the minute you lose, you say, well, why me? And although that's like a negative way of thinking, that starts, you start to realize, okay, well, what lesson did I need to learn? What this? No one ever makes it and goes, oh, why me? Why do I need to think about, they're just happy for the win? Because the success and the happiness is sort of a facade that we cover over everything else. And then we choose to ignore what we could have learned from it because we just want to enjoy the moments, the endorphins. When the endorphins aren't there, then we've got to face it in reality. And that's where we, you know, want to learn.
Yeah.
So
it's actually a different way of, it's a different sort of, a complete different aspect on looking at life. You have to actually look at it in a completely different mindset when you bring it up that way. You really do.
Also, thank you.
Josh is preaching today.
Yeah,
dude, I'm like, let's
you
to
go.
Like,
yes, queen. Yes.
Motivational speaker.
But I think also training when you start to learn from the failures, then you also start to learn from the successes. If you train your mind to pull apart any situation, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you always have to go through those first to get to the point of training your mind up.
It is just happening to you. It's like things are not in your control.
Yeah.
As much as they are in your control for certain things, they're not. Like just walking down the stairs is not even in your control most of the time. Like if you fall, that wasn't in your control. So
that piece of wood could be
you
loose.
just got to take it. Like you just got to take it and then carry on. Like was there something to learn from it and then just move on?
Yeah.
Because most of it you got to realize, like most people get frustrated, like especially me. When I was younger, it was most of my like anger and frustration that I had to get over was because things were out of my control and I had to have control.
Yeah.
Like I would want to win every single argument and prove my point up until the point where like I knew I was wrong, but I just had to get the last word and kind of thing. And I would throw a punch if I couldn't, you know what I mean? And like, that is what most people feel. 90% of people, those guys that bump you in a bar and want to cause a fight, that is their issue, is they've never ever faced those problems. Like
all
if
the
you
consequences.
all the consequences. That's exactly it, is they've never had to face them. Like Jay said, they've only ever seen success and never had to face the why.
Yeah.
But when you fail, like you get hit in the face for doing those things, that's when you have to face the why did it happen and then change.
I think you said also very clearly when people surround themselves with yes men. Do you know what I'm saying? People that make success, and the reason they also become complacent is that they pay people to be around them that tell them that they're amazing. And you can see them from a mile away because they never want to hear they're wrong, and they'll never learn from that. So they surround themselves, people go, yeah, you're right. Stupid ideas. People that should bring them back down to earth don't. And then they run off on these weird tangents, and we go, how the fuck did this guy get to that point? Like, how did no one call him a moron? And it's because he paid everyone else around him to tell him he was right.
Yep, I've witnessed it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
got in trouble for that. Yeah,
it's a big issue with celebrity. But as Mark said, in terms of control, imagine that you were like, you got to run the class, like when you were learning in school or something, for example, and you got to decide what was in the test. You would choose everything that you knew every single time. Do you know what I'm saying? So because of course you would pass, but you would never learn anything else. So when you try to control something, you can only control it insofar as you know the things to control. And then that leaves out everything else that's there to be experienced for you to learn in future.
Yeah. I think people also have to know that lessons are not just going to throw themselves at you in life. They're not just you're not just going to learn lessons. You have to be proactively doing things that are going to then, the lessons are a byproduct of that. But
it's taking risk.
Yeah, it's taking risk.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's what I'm getting to. You rushed me into it, Mark.
Oh, sorry.
Did he pressure you?
I thought you were
Great
going
minds
like
think
around.
alike. Don't you worry.
Do you
I'm in
wanna
the
talk
right
about
room.
it?
I'm in the right room.
Preach.
But yeah, no, I think people must know that if they are experiencing hardship, you're in the right place. It's as simple as that. You actually are in the right place.
Just use it.
Yeah, utilize it.
Don't just fucking
Use
go through
it
it
to your
and be like,
advantage.
"Oh,
Your
fuck."
adversity becomes your advantage.
Yes,
Oh.
that's a different kind of AA.
That's a different kind of AA, boys.
But other one's just as effective.
Don't get it wrong.
No, I think that I'm glad you actually brought this up today, and I think it's something that does need to constantly be brought to our awareness.
If only you guys were
What
here for the
happened in
first 10 minutes.
What happened in your life that made you want to bring this up?
So I was born.
Yeah,
And it was
downhill from
all
there.
downhill from there, yeah. No, it wasn't something specific. I mean,
It's all the shit we go
were you
through.
pondering? Okay,
it was everything that I've been trying to, I mean, I'm one that's really introspective and really focuses on the negatives and the lessons, right? And it sometimes puts me in places that are not the most positive mindset.
I'm sure.
And recently I've been trying to take a more positive approach to things.
Bro, it's like flipped around. It's so hectic.
I know. I've seen it. I have seen it.
No, let me actually explain this. So for most people who don't know, like Jason is like, he's got depression, like clinical, like approved depression. He's got like the green tick, the green tick for depression.
Most really fucking smart people are.
Yeah,
And then me.
This is the thing, is like I've always thought, because I've had my things when I was younger. Like I've been through a lot where like I was told to be on anti-anxiety medication. I was told to have antidepressants, and like,
By doctors.
Yeah, by doctors. I got prescribed them. They were like there, and I took one or two, and I thought, this isn't me, you know, and I didn't take them again. And like when I met Jace, you think Jason's Jason, like he's always the same, but he goes through these like little dips, and like those little dips are like very heavy depression.
Yeah.
Like he goes, he will be in his
lock himself
room,
away.
and like for those of you who know Jace, don't see the side because he's in his room, but he will literally just close the door and come out for food and then go back in his room and not see the light of day for a while. And like him and I get along because we just know, like we go to gym and we don't talk, and then come back and like don't talk, and like the day just carries on. He gets his stuff done and then he goes to bed, but like he goes through a lot, right? And it's been the same, like kind of like every 3 weeks, every 2 or 3 weeks, it'll be like 3-4 days of like solid, like around that, like 3-4 days, sometimes like a week of just like we just don't talk. He doesn't come out, and like not that he ever comes out, but he doesn't come out.
Yeah.
He's gonna use this against me later.
Yeah.
But recently,
I look to my left and look at Jason's face. I've just been looking at you the whole time. Yeah.
Like, we'll see about that.
Remember that
that time on the podcast.
Hey,
right?
this is
10 minutes ago. So these last, like, it's been a month now, and we have not had an easy time. Like, it's been one of the most stressful months, and like one of the hardest times, just all around business. We're dealing with like 5 people's stresses and then our whole livelihoods right now. And he's like flipped his mindset around, and he actually said like, Mike, I'm not letting it, like he's like, I'm thinking about the future and like who I'm going to affect. Like it's not just me. I can't be selfish. I can't let this affect the people around me. And like when you start changing the way you think, you start fighting those thoughts. In my opinion, Jason will be able to tell you a more internal version, but like how I see it and how I saw it was that you do realize, that was my exact thing, was that when you like I used to like throw my phone when it like froze, or like kick my computer when it like that's how angry I was about nothing. And like the only person it affects when you can't use your phone or you can't use your computer is you. Like who's like no one else gives a fuck if your phone breaks or your screen breaks. It's only your day that's absolutely fucked because you like raged in the moment.
Yeah.
And like that's the thing with Jason, this is the only person it affects is him. And like he has a choice now, and or actually yours affects more than you.
Yeah.
Like yours was affecting, like it affected me, it affected everyone around. Like it really does. It like dampens the mood, and not to be negative. Like I love you,
but
and
your friends just
but
care
it does.
about
They
you.
care.
That's
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, it's just awesome to see that. Like no, Jason's had genuine happiness. It wasn't like put on. It at the beginning it was. I could see like he was really fighting it a bit, but like genuine happiness I've seen in Jace, and I haven't seen this for a while. Like he genuinely just is happy, and it was a choice that he made. And like it's not to say depression's just gone out the window. He's got a lot of work to do, and like not to say genuine depression doesn't exist. I'm not saying that, because I know it does. Jason, he's living proof. I'm living proof. Like it does, but I'm saying there is a give and take. You can say I'm not going to let it take me when I don't want it to. You know what I mean? Like I have a slight play in this. It is my life. You know what I mean? And like he really has taken a bit of life back. You know, brought it by choice, which is like it's hectic to see. Like it seemed impossible. And when I first met him, he would say it's not possible. It's depression's depression, and I go through these dips. That was his mindset, and it's not like that now. He might go through it. Not saying he won't, and he probably will. Yeah, but like he has a bit of a say now, which is cool.
I see.
Yeah,
I think I mean everything Mark said is definitely correct, and the big turning point for me.
Lying.
Yeah. No, the big turning point.
Did you
Mike was wrong about
Yeah.
I'm fully depressed right now.
Just no, but for me it was, as Mark said, it's the people that are impacted. But at the same time, I also had to go through it because I started realizing the negative aspects. It's not something that was like all too in control. But I started seeing like I need to learn from it, not be sort of upset that it happened or down on myself or hard on myself. It's more like welcoming it to happen to me, so that I could realize how things were working out. So that I could know when to stop it, when enough was enough, and those sort of things. But what sort of got me concerned about it is that, cool, you put this facade on and happiness, and you try and look for the positivity, and that's what got me to this topic, is that I didn't want to. I said to Mark, even when it happened, I was like, there's still going to be days when it's going to be down, but I'm welcoming to that, because it just means like those are the days that I need to learn a little bit more, or need to take sort of lessons in from it. And I think a lot of people might not be sustainable with this type of approach, because they'll say happiness, 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 and then completely try and ignore the other aspect of life, the down times, the failures, and that doesn't get you to be a full human being. So it's saying, I will try my best to be sort of positive in this thing, but when negative things happen, I'll learn from them.
Yeah.
And that gives you power over both sides, because you can't just live, a one-sided life. And one of the things that sort of got me also onto this was, someone was talking about God or a higher power, doesn't matter in which way you look at it. And they said, it's so ironic that everyone sees that as goodness. And they think like,
what is goodness?
As God or as the higher power, as goodness.
Like most people say, I don't believe in God. Why would God let that baby die? And like all of that. Like you often hear that. You see it in like movies, you see
Stephen
it on
Fry's
the street.
the biggest advocate for that. He's like, why
they
is
say
there an
like
insect that has its sole purpose is to burrow into the eyes of children and make them blind?
So that is like,
He's the biggest
like these two are Christian, right? And I believe in God, but like I'm not
agnostic.
And like everyone gets each other. I understand everything.
No, you won't even say that you're not Christian. You are just in a different place in your spiritual journey with a different outlook at this point.
Yeah.
It's not.
But
You would call that agnostic because he believes in sort of a higher power, but nothing in specific to like a book or a religion or.
I just believe something is there.
Yeah.
Right? And
So
like,
you don't. So you
my
don't.
biggest.
Hey, Karen.
I believe in a God.
Do you believe that Jesus walked on earth?
100%. There's probably 500 Jesuses in South America right now.
Okay.
They know as Jesus.
And they're doing really well.
Yeah.
Really well.
Yeah. No,
Okay,
I'm sure there was. They just completely misinterpreted who he was and what he did. I mean, how I say right now, not like an argument's sake, but like there was a pyramid scheme, and I've said it to Jace, that 200,000 people got convinced, this was like 2-3 years ago, that this guy was going to take them out of financial debt, and they were arguing to death on this group that this was legit.
Yeah.
And
He was
like,
the Messiah.
he was God sent, and he was taking them, and he just took, this guy didn't exist. He took their money and ran. No one had ever met him, right? In the 21st century, 200,000 people got convinced that this man who they've never seen in their life ever, and they've never met, right, is going to take them out of financial debt, and they were willing to kill anyone that denied it, right?
Yeah, they fought for him.
In the 21st century. This is 2,000 years ago. Those people are a lot less educated than now, right? And all it took was someone to spread a story that was well done. I'm not saying they did. I'm saying like he could have, damn straight, and I would believe it, right?
Yeah.
But then there's like 500 other stories, and for me to say that 499 other human beings who are equally created by your God.
We're getting
right?
into this debate, Jay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
okay,
it's not
good.
it's not a debate.
No, it's
I'm
just a conversation.
It's I'm
Yes.
saying why my mind can't believe
Yes,
it. I'm
okay.
just saying that like
Of
for
course.
me, this is some Joe Rogan stuff. It's
Yeah,
pretty
I
good.
know. I was
like
gonna
it.
say.
Yeah, no, it's cool. So my thought is right that I believe I'm more Christian than you guys because I believe that 499 other religions you guys are calling wrong, and those are people that were made by God, by your God, and you are calling them wrong. I'm calling them all right.
Yeah, I do like this observation.
Oh my! That camera does not have enough batteries for where this is going. That's what I'm thinking.
I know. I was
no.
This is reserved for
I'm
that.
just, I'm just saying that is why I'm not.
Yeah, I actually
one,
love that argument.
It's because
even as
like
a
you guys,
Christian, I love that argument.
your guys is on, and Jace will say it's on faith. Like that's what it's all lies on. It's like you guys have faith in your belief, right? That's like what you ride off of, and I get it. Like that faith is, I'm jealous of it. Like I am jealous of it. I wish I could go into church and like be hit with the faith all of a sudden.
Yeah, but that
wow.
didn't happen. Like you saying this, but just keep in mind, even though you see me go to church on a Sunday, I'm still 100% cultivating a faith. I don't just have it's
so
a constant work.
So would you
every
think if you worked in Muslim faith, right?
Yeah.
Do you think if you worked just as hard in that,
the
you would
faith
be
would be-
Muslim?
Would it be Muslim?
No, do you think it would be?
But just before,
because listen to this question.
yeah.
There are many stories that Muslims use where Christians have changed faith to them and they are devoted.
But Mark,
right? And there are many a story of Muslim, and these are people that were devoted.
But Mark,
bro.
you have to understand what the Muslim faith and the Christian faith and
No,
the
no,
Jewish
I do understand
I'm
that
saying-
they all believe the same
No, I'm
thing
saying they are
with just different
Not
stories.
really.
No,
within.
they are physically from the same crux, which is called Abrahamic religion, right? So they all believe that, and the difference is
you've explained the whole thing, and
But I'm saying people would be easy because it's
I'm
from the
just
same
saying,
core.
right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying that often people will say that's wrong. Like
Yeah.
if you go to your priest, they will say that is wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Is what I mean. That's the bottom line that I was getting at.
Yes.
Right? But I'm saying that besides that, there are religions that are far off.
Yes.
Right? Far off.
Yeah.
That are
Yeah,
people
Hinduism is
people
completely
have
far
gone
off.
from
Yeah.
being full on in one and then full on in the other with the same amount of faith
Yes.
as you call faith.
Yes.
They will tell you, and there are people willing to kill themselves with bombs for their religion,
course.
and you are not.
Of course.
So would they then have more faith in theirs than you have in yours?
Look, I think
a lot of it to me, yeah.
good observation, 100%, and that's why I love that argument from
Yeah.
you. Whenever
But
we speak about
what
it.
I'm saying is faith is stronger than all of my
Correct.
arguments.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Correct.
I get it.
But
I will never say you're wrong.
yeah, but
That's
I think
the thing.
faith upon I mean, there's certain religions that have like very unethical doings, like bombings and things. In their eyes, it is.
But every religion.
Listen to this. So the other night, right?
Whether you like it or not,
with Sax. Listen to this.
Yeah.
And I was talking about the line between good and bad. How it's all
Very
conceptualized
fine
by
as well.
humans. No,
Yeah.
not fun. It's all conceptualized by humans. We've made it up.
Yeah, got it.
No, we really have. Like, hurting a dog is bad, right? Like,
So
killing animals.
Okay, we're going into ethical arguments, but carry on.
Just listen to me.
Yes.
So Josh is talking about some religions are bad,
Yes.
right? Who's saying
No,
that?
I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm
No,
saying
no,
that
I'm
even
saying
though
like
they might
like Satanism, right?
But I mean,
Yeah.
that's also going because they don't really believe in like they just believe in the human.
Okay,
So you,
let's
yeah,
just
but yeah,
say, let's just say, right, that there was a religion and they cultivated killing,
Yeah.
right, straight up.
yeah,
Who is saying that's bad? It's only humans.
Yes.
yeah.
Because so remember the other night, Sax was like, no, you know it in your heart that it's wrong to do that. No, you don't, because there were cultures that rape was okay. There were
Yep.
cultures that cannibalism were okay. Those are human beings. They don't feel it
But
in their heart that that's bad.
there's a I mean there's ethics. You're going into like the most gray area in the world in terms of understanding. There's like 1,000,005 theories on it, and no one really knows if we've. I mean, obviously there are humans cultivated some sort of ethical standards, but there's some that we don't know where they sort of generate from and where whether
Okay,
they're innate
so
or
I
not.
get
I've got a
that.
fucking
Yeah.
good question I want to ask,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
want
go.
you guys to.
Yeah.
Do you think, right? So if religion, if it was solely religion, right, that is what created the ethics of the people in the world.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be enough without government law.
Mm.
Do you think without government law
No.
that we would be living in the same kind of
No,
world?
no, you
Or
can't,
would it
because
wreak
there's-
havoc?
No, there's always anarchists. There's
Would
always
the world wreak havoc just with religion and without government law?
Yeah.
Do you think government laws is enforcing
No.
more good on humans
But
than
listen,
religion
humans
is?
have
Yes.
government law because of answering questions like yours. We did live in chaos, and
Yeah.
government law was
Yeah.
created.
Yes, but that's what I'm
So
saying.
it's-
Yes, I know
it's-
that.
It has to get to some point.
He's acting like he's
where
never watched
people-
The Purge. We've all seen it. People
Yeah.
are getting murdered. yeah.
People like to fucking kill.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they want to.
I think that's how the world would turn out without government law and just religion.
Yeah, I mean, because also people's interpretations are wildly different. Cool, you have doctrines, but like you can interpret those doctrines slightly differently, and that's
Yes,
what leads to suicide bombers for some areas. And I mean, that's living in a mostly what they call like a theocracy, where the laws are governed by the religion and not the other way around, whereas we don't. So they will have beheadings and certain things that you can get away with for doing certain acts, which is governed by the religion.
This is a wild
Right?
conversation.
And then that can also spark into things like extremism and things, because someone will interpret it the wrong way. It's not the religion's fault,
Yeah.
it's just an extremist.
Yeah.
And granted, I mean, they're not praised by the government or anything
got a
like that.
puppy.
Oh yeah, the audio cut off.
That's the noise.
So you do need sort of part and parcel of both. You need to say like these are the core doctrines and the values, and then these are the laws that govern it. Because also they have what they call like positive rights and negative rights, right? So right. So I can't infringe. There's certain rights that I have just by me existing, and then there's rights that you have, and then there's rights that exist where I infringe on your rights, for example.
Yeah.
So you sort of have to set those guidelines, because there's an area where my rights overlap with your rights. So we have to say like,
I see.
there's a boundary there,
Yeah.
and that's where law sort of dictates, okay, cool, those, I mean, everyone has the right to laugh, for example, but then you could have a right to walking on the sidewalk, and then they have to say, okay, well, the car can't drive there because your right to walk in a place is not the same as that right to drive, because you're going to infringe. And that's
Yeah.
when you talk positive rights versus negative rights,
Yeah.
and that's what law governs.
Yeah, but I don't know if you like. Mark has an interpretation of faith being something that just it happens and life is completely different.
No.
And I'm sure lots of people have experienced that. No, I mean people do have this.
No.
People say I had an experience and it changed my life, and like good for you, but there's a finite amount of you people that
Yeah.
happened to. Let's be honest. You know what I'm saying? No matter. Let's be honest. No
Oh,
matter how
but
hard
also
you look for it, no matter
Mine
how.
is just like this. You know how like I start a course or I start learning something and then I'm like onto something else.
Yes,
right?
we know.
It's like
Gracious.
if I go down this road, there are 5,000 other religions as well. I gotta go down those. I got to.
Yeah.
I can't fucking
You
devote
know you don't
myself.
have to.
I do.
The reason why Christianity is a religion that
It's because the masses believe it.
no, it's not because the masses believe it.
It's the
It's why did
oldest.
this book It was actually an argument that Jordan Peterson had that made a lot of sense to me in my life. It's why has this book stuck around for as long as it has? And why have so many people created an attachment to it?
Read a book called The Silk Roads.
I will give you a different...
Read that book, and that'll show you why the religion stuck around. No, listen to me. The reason religion sticks around is because in the old days...
that one specifically?
I can tell you exactly why. Read the book.
Was it the best one? The best story?
Religion literally was a fight. There's a fucking...
the Crusades.
But not just... Bro, Christians killed the most people ever to make
Crusades.
their religion win.
Yeah,
like, not just that as well, but
that
religion had to make a hoorah to make it the biggest. There were religions, you must see, like, how some were just doing this and then what they had to do to fucking make theirs take over. They did very unchristian things to make... And if they didn't kill people, which is against the rules of the Bible, then their religion would have died out and there would not be Christianity.
But I think it's a two-parter, because it's that, but also some religions will die out just on their own, just based on the fact that their values weren't sustainable for human life. So, right, when you say, like, you must not kill your neighbor type of thing, that's probably going to be a long surviving, because it's preservation. Whereas if you're saying, like, murder's free reign, and you go across the fucking guy doesn't have butter for you, and you get the knife out, and he's, then
he's next in line.
he's next in line. Then you're probably only going to last like a good few months before there's one man standing going,
didn't bring the eggs. You're next.
Okay. So you remember the night where Sachs was like, I don't believe, when he was like, come bro, you just know inside of you that it's not the right thing to do. Okay. Now, you say, I don't believe that that's true. That's you're like, no.
No, it's a human's belief to put themselves in another person's shoes. The reason I don't want to fuck Jason up and kill him is because
he would
I
lose.
don't want to. Is because I don't want to die.
Experience that.
I don't want to, and the reason I wouldn't want to, you have a bond with your family.
Empathy is a very human trait.
So tell me this, right? With the recent tests that have been going on, because there's been these tests in the past couple of months since psilocybin was allowed to be tested, that like these test results have come out, right? Why, when people have these psilocybin experiences and they have a mystical experience,
this is the Joe Rogan experience.
No, why do?
Why
do? Okay, can you answer this question for me? Can a chemical alter your ethic?
Yes.
Of course.
Okay, your natural ability to know what is right and what is good.
Yes.
Can a chemical alter
Yes.
that? No, I'm not saying for the negative, for the positive.
Yes.
What chemicals can add
MDMA straight up.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so the test with psilocybin, when you have this mystical experience and the person comes out of the experience and they say, I now understand certain things that I didn't before, right? Yeah. And they also realize certain things about themselves and how to act in society. Some of them become better people afterwards.
Yeah.
What's in that moment? It's not psilocybin itself that's giving you the goodness. It's an awakening
but there's a fact of this for tens of decades.
So, but what is that then?
But just put it
is that God?
Put it this way.
Because if God is all good,
no, but these are all hypotheticals. You got to speak science,
of course,
for this
but
kind
science
of thing.
Doesn't even know what is a lot.
But you are functioning on hormones and like
we are made up of chemicals.
You're made up of chemicals. Like you're also psilocybin is like connecting new neural pathways. That's why they use mushrooms and stuff. It's if you never had a pathway,
if the effects died off, then so should the ethics of you.
No, because while your synapses are built, if you get synapses, they're built for unless you don't use them.
Got it. So the argument of could that be God can't really come into it.
No, man,
then?
you can't. Like, there's no
you
denying.
Could say anything
if
could be.
You believe a guy walked the earth 2,000 years ago and was Jesus, you can pretty much believe anything. So if that is what you want to believe, it is possible.
But Josh,
like, there's no saying no to it because you say yes to fucking.
You could go
full belief.
You could go full circle to how we started this conversation. That you're saying, how can you change your ethics?
The airplanes being shot.
Yeah, basically, World War II, great time. No, but if you look at those people that refuse to learn lessons, they just get stuck in this rut. You know, life is fucking terrible.
Yeah, they tend to become
I stubbed my toe, sell all my furniture. Now you're fucking sitting on the floor wondering why your life is terrible. And they just get stuck in this rut, right? Yeah. So if you can imagine, maybe not to that extreme, but people that are living their daily lives where they're stuck in a rut and they can't figure out why and they don't want to learn a lesson. Then they take something like psilocybin or even, you know, some people like alcohol or something, whatever it may be, something that alters the state of the mind to a point where you can't put up the barrier in your mind. So it takes that control out of your own mental state because you weren't mentally strong enough to take the barrier away. It removes that barrier and then allows you to learn the lesson. So there's some people that can have the same sort of changing effect in the mind without the drug because they chose to have it.
Got it.
Some people need that assistance.
That is often why people go and do ayahuasca. It's not a fun trip. that is considered like the
Yeah.
least. It's not
Least
a fun
recreational
Yeah.
trip.
trip. It's not recreational.
It looks terrible. It looks like Origin back corner 5 a.m. people.
Well, you've been there.
It's for addicts. It's for people that have gone through extreme life trauma.
Yeah.
They go through this thing to make them face lessons that they can't on their own, and that changes you for life. And you're saying that, like, is that God and stuff? It's really just breaching things that your mind is hiding. It is there, but it's creating the neural pathways that connect them.
Because
And I'm no scientist,
That's
so
what's
don't
so
quote me.
fucking scary,
But-
guys, is when you, like you said it yourself, you say it's just there. You know how we'll sit in thought, and we'll just sit in thoughts about something going on in our life, and we're able to come up with a complete fucking solution of it. But why was that never just there? It cultivated somehow in our mind. Where did it come from? Is it already there?
He wants
and
us
we
to solve consciousness
is it
on a
already
random
there?
podcast in
Tell
Hillcrest.
me.
No, but tell me out. Was it there and we just brought our awareness
No,
to it?
you
Or
connecting
are we
dots.
an
Bro,
antenna?
your brain thinks in parts. Firstly, I'm just explaining. It thinks in parts.
Barely.
So, like, firstly, you don't just think like coffee, mug, milk, liquid. It's not just one thing that suddenly appears. You've got to
Mike's
figure
coming
out
with some good fucking
you've
facts
got
here.
to come. You've got to come. Like, how do I store this liquid so it doesn't run away?
Yes.
There's the mug, right? Now it's like
He didn't store it very
now
well.
it's like I put the water in, but like it needs something flavorful, and then the coffee comes in. That's how your mind works. Like
Yes.
you've got one
It's
part.
by
Like
piece
let's
by
say you're
piece.
solving a fucking mathematical equation. You don't just have the answer. You've got to
It's
have.
true.
You get the formula. You've now got to input the numbers. Your brain pulls things from certain memories. If there's like a mountain to climb and there's certain aspects of it, your brain will think, well, there's a groove here and that requires this, and then it's got a handle there and that requires this, and then it puts it together. You don't just appear at the top.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like your brain has to pull from past experiences, or it tries to like create a new one, but it can't just appear at the answer.
Yeah.
It's got to like, that's why it takes a bit of time.
But also,
It's
the
gotta-
answers are never something that's like,
Obvi-
wow. Do you know what I'm, no, but
Yeah.
I'm saying? It's never like, wow.
Okay, yeah,
because
yeah.
people will say, like, what did my marriage end? And then they'll, like, they can't get past it for years. And then they'll go, like, do the
They
drug or
realised they were
whatever.
a cheating
And
whore
yeah, exactly that. They'll say,
That fucking
yeah, it
bastards.
was gonna fall off. But then they'll come back and they'll be like, oh, maybe it wasn't great because, you know, it was a mannequin. And then they come to this realization and you're like, that's a pretty normal understanding. They don't come back with this lesson that's like wildly amazing. They come back with a very simple
Yeah,
lesson.
I was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Literally, that's
yeah.
often it. Is they just wouldn't face it. Their brain was like, nah, and then it realizes
Yeah.
it. But it's something that if they actually sat there and thought about, they could connect the dots. But there are a few dots that need to be connected, and your brain just has to go from one like to the next. It's like there was that fight 2 years ago, and that was because. But it's not just I'm an alcoholic. The answer is never just one answer. It's you have to go back to an experience, back to what happened at that time. Why did she react? What did she say? And those dots start connecting, but your brain doesn't even go there because
It stops
it's
at the
not,
first part.
those things are not there. They are there. There's just like a few dots.
There's no spotlight on them, yeah.
There's no dots there. That it needs to go like the answer is there, but it's not. It's not at all there.
Yeah.
But it needs to like join those dots to create the story. You know what I mean?
I think that also speaks a good lesson on life, and that you can't just fucking skip to the end part, even with your simple thoughts.
I mean, you
it all
can.
takes process.
This is
You
a
can.
fucking crazy
could.
ride.
You could find
Holy shit.
a very tall bridge and skip to the end
going
like
back,
this, buddy.
going back to the actual start of this
The
conversation, the topic of this conversation, people would often say, or you'd say that people don't like, society doesn't like looking at the negatives as the actual reason for growth, rather look at the successes for the reason of growth. Do you think it's because it takes a big hit to the ego to have to put awareness to those? So do you think people need to learn to take criticism?
No.
Learn to take it.
I know this. I've thought about this. It's because your lessons are not anyone else's lessons. And what you can learn from someone is not their hardships. You have to only take away from what they can control and what they can do. If that guy went through a problem with like his accountant skimming off the top, right? And like he went through that, you may not have an accountant. So there's no point in him telling his story, but you can wake up at 5 a.m, like you said. You can send out 1,000 emails a day. Those are all things that he can tell you to do.
It's
the
survivorship
lessons you go
bias.
through are all your own. Like you really, Yeah.
It's because we want the answers
You know what I
to
mean?
we
No,
want the
for
answers
sure.
to how to make it happen. We want
The
survivorship
lessons are
bias.
learned automatically.
We don't want to know that it's up to us to learn the lessons. We want to know if we copy him, success is a default.
Yeah.
Because that's
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
And
That's
we
out of our
brought it
control.
back.
Yeah.
We brought it back.
Yeah.
Don't know
guys.
how in the middle there was very interesting.
This is the potty.
Well,
And
thanks to Joe Rogan for the inspo.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on out.
Come on,
Joe.
come on
No,
out.
no.
Try to show
He's shy.
everyone.
He's shy, don't worry.
I wish that was like, yeah.
Oh, it's down. I don't know what you're doing.
Oh, well, that made sense.
There we go.
Hey, Joe. What a guy. What a guy. No, stay behind the camera. Don't worry about it.
it's
It's not
fine,
another
man.
pair of headphones. Don't worry.
You can edit him in the background.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Thanks, Queens.
Thanks, Queen.